It is time to talk about the Canadian Grand Prix.
The aftermath.
The aftermath, the pain, the torture that was the Canadian Grand Prix. Oh yeah, Ferrari. We actually had a fan question.
Oh,
we
yeah?
had a fan question come in.
Why don't you get the fans to read it?
Well, it wasn't an email one. It was an in-person question. Well,
IRL?
essentially. Question asked. What were our thoughts about Ferrari's performance in the Canadian Grand Prix? Yeah. What were your thoughts on their performance? You seem excited. I can tell.
I've been lost in a fog of pain and rage for days.
Yeah. Really? Why? That's strange. I can't imagine how you would feel like
The
that.
roller coaster of emotions. You think you prepare yourself as a Ferrari fan for this kind of thing?
The problem is you prepared yourself for them to do well now from here on out.
No.
You did.
No.
You did.
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't. You
Don't
didn't
tell me what I
believe in
did.
Ferrari.
I believed in Ferrari.
No,
What?
you need to believe in the real Ferrari. This is Ferrari. This is Ferrari 101. They get your hopes up.
It hurts so
They get
bad.
your hopes up and they bring it all
It hurts so bad.
crashing down.
I can't.
Every single time. You're like, look, Ferrari. Wow, they've really picked it up this time. Love those guys. This is their year. It's never their year. That's what you have to remember. It's not going to be their year. It's not possible.
It hurts so bad.
They can't do anything right for more
Not
than
for
one
an
race.
extended period of time.
Yeah. They can get one race here and there very correct. And then the rest of the time, not so much.
They have a predictable life cycle of like slowly building momentum to a peak and then just boom!
Yep.
Rock bottom.
Tanking it.
I didn't think that Ferrari was going to win in Canada.
No. I
I
thought we'd see
expected a
Red Bull
Ferrari.
to return to form.
I expected a Ferrari performance in Canada. And then they both got knocked out
Yep.
in Q2
Yep. Second round of qualifying.
by Williams.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's about as bad as it gets.
For context, Williams is a pretty bad team.
And Montreal,
Their car is
the
not that
Canadian
fast.
Grand Prix is a low downforce track.
Yep. That means there's like less of a steep angle on the different wings and spoilers on the car because they want additional top speed.
And Williams has been improving their performance on downforce tracks.
Yep.
But it also appears that they have improved their performance on low downforce tracks as well. Much to the chagrin of my favorite team.
Yes, yeah. It would seem like Williams is making some significant improvements all around, aren't they? Turns out they're a bit faster than Ferrari at Canada.
When they qualified 11th and 12th, I watched qualifying.
Yeah, I did too.
When they qualified 11th and 12th, first of all, it was well after the end of the session that Albon finished his lap and knocked Charles Leclerc out of moving on to the next qualifying
That's
round.
true. Charles almost made it in the
He almost made it.
The final round of qualifying.
That was heartbreaking. And then I went, hey now, boys, we got some rain forecast. We can make something out of this.
Yeah.
We can make, rally the troops. It's not the first time. It's been a tough qualifying.
Yeah,
we
surely
can make something out of this.
Surely they have a fast car. They'll be able to make some passes, get
It's
back
Ferrari.
up into the points.
It's Charles Leclerc and
Yeah.
Carlos Sainz.
Yeah.
But
Good
then-
drivers, good car.
But then, Charles Leclerc has an engine problem where he lost half a second on the straights. You know how many kilometers an hour that was worth?
10?
It was around 10, yeah.
Oh, that was a good guess.
Yeah, he lost 10 kilometers an hour on the straights. Just for fun.
Yeah.
That's 2/3 of DRS
Yep.
because of an engine problem. So
Yeah.
that sucked. We're going to get through the Ferrari Chronicles first,
Yeah.
listeners, so that you can know the pain I feel. So that sucked a lot, and I went, well, there goes his race.
Yeah.
And then Carlos wasn't getting anywhere either.
No. Carlos, if anything, was worse somehow.
And then at the end of the day, they both ended up not finishing. It does not get worse.
Yeah.
The only way it could get worse is if they crashed each other out.
Yeah.
But
true.
that's not quite a Ferrari move.
That is not
luckily,
quite
it
a
hasn't
Ferrari
gotten
move.
that far.
Yeah.
If it went that far, I don't know what I'd do.
That's an Alpine move.
That is an Alpine move.
Our favorite
That's a
French
trademarked.
team.
Our favorite French team. Only French team. Favorite French team.
I
favorite French team.
love them.
Anyhow, enough wallowing.
Yeah.
I believe we do have a fan question this week.
Actually, we have a couple. We have a couple of fan questions this week. And
Or are you just gonna? Is this gonna be the email thing all over again? You're gonna.
it is the email thing all over again. Because again, you could just have the app.
I am not interested.
Okay.
Here
Well,
we
one
go.
minute.
Loading
Yep.
fan mail.
Yep.
Oldest first, obviously.
Yes. Yeah.
This one comes from Sean.
Mm.
I was wondering if you guys could go in depth on sim racing and explain some of the aspects that are similar to real racing as well as drastic differences. Also, can we expect a Drain Guys special feature where you guys hit the kart track during an episode? Maybe introduce some states. Godspeed. Now that is how you sign off an email.
All right. That's a good sign off. I think the stakes should be if I win, you give me $10,000. If I lose, I have to drive. I have to pay for your gas that day.
I mean, pretty high stakes.
It's pretty high stakes.
Pretty high stakes.
Yeah.
What you did not include is all of my pride and identity being lost if I lose.
Well, that's true.
I'd be destroyed as a human
I
being.
thought that was secondary to the gas
I have
money.
such a fragile ego.
Yeah.
It's close. They're tied. They're tied at least. We could.
We could.
That sounds like a fantastic idea, Sean.
It is a really good idea.
I feel like we have to do that.
I will have to figure out how we'd want to record that because I have no idea. We're barely getting by recording this itself right now.
Don't tell them that. We're super good. We're in a high budget studio.
Yeah, but big time high budget studio.
Different filming techniques being used. The
Yep.
lighting array. This is not a green screen.
It's not a green screen.
This
is
is
a
real set.
Real set.
Real set, real lights.
Real set.
So anyhow,
Yeah.
that second part sounds fantastic, Sean. You will have to stay tuned,
Yes.
listeners, for more Drain Guys content.
Can I start on the first part? Because there's
Absolutely.
a major difference I'd like to get to first.
Absolutely, light it up.
The biggest difference, you're not actually moving. This is unsettling for a lot of people.
Oh, I thought you were trying to say the biggest difference is it's a simulation. It's not real.
You gotta keep this in
Sorry,
mind.
you're actually being serious. My bad.
Some people
My bad.
forget where they are. You know, they think they're driving a real car, and they just lose their minds. No, the biggest difference is that you're not moving, and that can be really important because in a real car, you can feel when like the car starts to slip or lose traction, and you kind of react naturally to it. Whereas with sim racing, you almost have to react in advance to things a little bit more so than you would in a real car because you can't feel the actual motion of the car in the same way.
Yeah.
Other than that, it is actually quite realistic, I'd say.
Impressively. Yes.
Impressively so, yeah.
So, springboarding off of that, as per my last email, in conjunction with that,
yeah.
anyways.
Touche.
You're reacting off of, in addition to what you said about feeling the car, you have to rely more on visual cues.
Yeah.
From how the camera in the video game is reacting to what the car is doing.
Yep.
And then try and figure out what the car needs to be corrected to do that.
Yeah.
So you have visual cues and you have force feedback cues through the steering wheel. Now, in really high-end simulator setups, they have depths of motion. So you can get motion rigs that move you forward, backwards, left, right. They can spin a little bit and rotate. So you can get a bit of the G-forces. There's even some where the seat belts tighten so that you can feel braking forces.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's
That's
like
cool.
it's almost like a fake G-force.
That's cool.
By tightening you in your seat. There are some pedals that have force feedback in them now.
Yep.
That are active, but generally, for your, I'm going to call it consumer grade simulator, you're going to have visual cues and force feedback through the steering wheel.
Yes.
Now, physics models for racing simulator games differ massively between each game.
Yes. Yeah, the game makes a big difference. That's another thing that's quite different.
But fortunately, in today's day and age of simulators, there are so many different titles with so many different teams that you get a pretty good flavor of each, and you can kind of pick and choose what you want.
Yeah. And generally speaking, too, I'll say this, like, a lot of the simulators are good in their own way.
Oh, yeah.
And the general principles of how a car operates are there in all of them.
100%.
So, like, you know how to deal with a car's back end sliding out if you're driving a rear-wheel drive car, because the things you need to do will be the same across each game. It just might feel slightly different doing it.
Yeah, the differences are they're in the, I'm going to call it like the final 10% of details. All the driving simulators, I'm going to call it, you know what, let's be a little bit nicer. They're 80% the same. But the most detailed 20% is when you really get into what separates a simulator from another. So as an example, in my opinion, from what I've played, Dirt Rally 2.0 is the best rally simulator out there.
I'd agree.
But Dirt Rally 2.0 does not do a good job of simulating pavement rallies.
Correct.
That is well known.
I still like how it feels, but yes, it's generally agreed that they don't do a good job of this.
But on gravel and snow and mud, it is the best. So that's what Dirt Rally 2.0 does very well.
Yeah.
Then as another example, I guess you would have like Assetto Corsa Competizione does the best job of replicating how a GT3 car handles.
Yep.
It is effectively perfect.
Yep.
And how they react on tracks, how the setups go. So all the different titles have different focuses.
Yep.
And you just have to pick the title that you want for the focus that you want.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
And I mean, we could make a whole podcast on sim racing equipment, but that would be boring. But there's all different complexities of sim racing equipment that you can have. You can have direct drive wheelbases. You can have shifters. You can have, like I said, force feedback pedals. But it can go all the way back to like very simple, rudimentary force feedback systems.
Yeah.
That are affordable and easy to use.
Yeah. I mean, maybe at some point we could do a video like just looking at sim racing and do something kind of fun with that. I don't know. We don't know what that'd look like, but maybe.
Possibly.
Yeah.
But all I can do is I could just recommend it because I have a sim rig. It's right over here.
I did once upon a time.
He did.
Up until very recently.
But that's okay.
Yes.
And my favorite thing to do when people are over and I have the time is to throw them in the sim rig.
Yep.
Because a lot of people have... they make assumptions about it.
Yes.
And they don't think that it's that great or that real because historically they were bad at one point.
Yep.
But then it's quite impressive what they can do, and then it can be quite humbling, and then it's also fun to see people get onto it and really gain a bit more of a love for it.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say, when I've gotten people to try it, I feel like a lot of people initially come away being like, this does not feel realistic at all.
Yeah.
And people don't realize what they're doing initially when they're on it.
100%.
Like, people will fly into a corner going like 230 kilometers an hour because there's not
and then
the same sense of
turn.
speed. And then just, it's like everybody, like 95% of people I've gotten to try it forget that the brake exists.
Yeah, 100%.
They never brake.
Yeah.
And it's because you don't have that same sensation of speed.
Yeah.
But like people will just fly into corners. The wheel will go nuts because they're just going off-road all of a sudden into like a bunch of rough dirt.
And they'll be like, whoa.
And they'll be like, this isn't very realistic. Yeah. And it's like, you just tried to take a 90-degree turn at 200 kilometers an hour.
Exactly.
What were you hoping for?
Yeah.
But it is quite realistic. You do kind of have to get your bearings with it a little bit, though.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
And I can attest from real life driving scenarios, it improves your driving. I've avoided two major accidents in my life because of things that I've done sim racing that I've never done in a real car.
Yeah.
It equated where I did things sim racing, and then in an emergency situation, I had to do it.
Yep. And I've said that to people too before, and they kind of scoff at that idea.
They do.
They always do. I say to people, I'm like, I feel like I would know how to handle a car pretty well in a lot of situations. And they're kind of like, yeah, all right, sure.
Yeah, okay.
And it's like, all right. But it really does show you how cars function in a way that's in like a safe environment. And it does translate to the real road because those physics are correct. Like that is how a car would operate if it starts to slide out on you. And there is like Dirt Rally 2.0 has snow and ice tracks where you kind of get a feel
that are
for
complete ice.
Yeah, where you get a feel for what a car might do when you've lost traction completely on an icy surface and what you can do in that situation.
And being Canadians, that is very helpful.
Yeah. Super helpful.
And so the last thing that I'll say, it's a very fun exercise in what driving actually is.
Yeah.
I frequently say to people that what they think driving is probably 5 or 10% of driving. Really. Because when you're driving to work, you're not pushing the capabilities of your capabilities or the capabilities of the vehicle at all.
That's true.
So it's like, what about driving do you actually know? You're speeding up to whatever amount above the speed limit you feel comfortable with. You're taking corners as fast as you feel they are comfortable. There's nothing pushing you to understand what's beyond that safe limit that you've created on the road. Yeah. And it's not safe to do that on the road.
No.
I do not recommend it.
No.
It drives me nuts when I see people driving like maniacs on like canyon roads and filming it and posting it.
Yeah.
It's outrageous.
Yep, I agree.
But like I would say about 90% of actual driving a person will not experience unless they're trying to push their vehicle and push themselves. And sim racing, you get to do it with no real cost if something goes wrong. No cost if something goes wrong. And no cost, like no injury either.
Yeah. Unless you're on an insanely high-end simulator, you might break your thumbs.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is
but then you kind of deserve it. Yeah. I'm kidding, you don't deserve it. Anyways, so that is sim racing.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that more maybe at a later date, but stay tuned, and we hope that answered some questions and got some people interested.
It's very fun. It's very fun.
It is. I wish I could do it more.
Yeah. It's a lot more tiring than you'd think it'd be too.
Yes.
Like you play a couple races on Dirt Rally, you will be sweating.
Yeah, you're actually tired and sweating. It's
like
no joke.
100%. It takes way more out of you than people think.
Yep. All right. Second question from our super fan. Of course. Subject rather. What is Red Bull thinking? Well, Perez signs a 2-year contract.
Yep.
How does he reward Red Bull? Spoiler alert. Can't make it out of Q1, which is the first qualifying. So he qualified in the bottom 5 of the entire grid and the best car on the grid.
Yep.
Then spins and takes himself out of the race. What a stupid signing for Red Bull. Harsh words.
Yeah, this is quite a harsh
words. Ooh, it gets harsher. Hey, Ferrari superfan, just a tough weekend for you. Well, for me, too, a lot of minus points this week in Fantasyland. Yeah, we'll get it out of the way. I just got slaughtered in the fantasy this weekend.
Same.
I lost my lead by almost 100 points in one weekend.
Well, what was your total points at the end of the weekend? What did you get
42.
You lost 42.
Minus 42.
Minus 42.
Yeah. And then the guy in first now jumped like 70.
Yep.
So, yeah, I lost a lead of 100 points.
After
whatever it was, not Monaco, the one before that, I was like, I got a 170-point lead. Things would have to go really bad for me to lose this lead. And alas, they have.
Yeah, you just never know.
You just never know. But that's the fun of it.
I gained about 16 points, I think.
Well, at least you gained.
I did gain.
Because I had my doubler on Charles Leclerc.
So did I. And just so everybody's aware, like you get like you can build a team each week, you pick 5 drivers, you pick 2 teams, you get a certain amount of points for how well they do. One of the things you can do is put this double points token on one of your drivers. However, if you put it on a driver that scores negative points, it doubles the negative points that they got as well. So both of us put it on somebody that did not finish the race and then got, minus 32 points from him?
I think it's minus 20, actually. I think it's minus 20 if you don't finish, if you retire from a race. So it's minus 40.
Oh, okay. Well, he
I'll
still would have
double-check.
gained some amount of points, though. I think it translated into negative 32 overall.
Yeah, maybe.
Because he still made some overtakes during the race and stuff
I
like
just
that.
saw the negatives and went, yikes.
Yeah, it's
and then
rough. It's
signed
rough.
out.
Yeah. Yeah, not great. Not great. But that's how she goes.
That's how she goes for David and I. Much like Ferrari, things look great until they don't.
Yeah. It's one of those things that you think will go well because you've picked the teams that have been winning literally the entire season.
Yep.
And then next thing you know, those teams that have been winning the entire season let you down and lose so badly that you couldn't have imagined
start
it.
losing.
How many negative
Tough.
points was it?
It was minus 16 for Leclerc. You were right.
So it's 32 for both of us.
Yep.
Yep.
Minus 32 total.
Yep.
So anyways, took
Thought
that
so.
on the chin like a champ. Got to somehow rebound from this like a true gambler does. To be fair, we're not actually really gambling. We got no real skin in the
when
game.
to hold 'em.
No one to fold them. I'm
No
pretty close to
when
folding. No, I'm
'em.
kidding. Of course I
Gonna
can.
get us copyright striked.
That's true.
Imagine coming after a channel
do
that
ca-
only gets like 5 views.
It's a karaoke F1 podcast. What do you want me to do?
We gotta sing.
We gotta sing.
I
James
need to
James
sing.
Corden made it look so good, so we decided to do it on a couch instead of
Car
a
couch
car.
karaoke.
F1 car couch karaoke.
We're gonna get Lance Stroll in here. He's gonna sing
He's gonna
"Daydream
sit
Believer"
Right on that.
by the Monkey.
Right on that track, he's gonna sing that song that David just noted. I don't know that song.
Daydream Believer. And
Oh, that one.
You know that song.
I know the Monkees, because you told me about them.
Yeah, they're a fun band.
Fun fact, the Monkees were installed by the CIA as a counter-op to the Beatles.
Yeah.
Some of that is true.
So
You decide what portion.
I just like the fact that they didn't play their own instruments and then had to sue the TV show that originally
Well, they
brought
had to
them all
sue the
together.
CIA.
Well, they had to sue everybody.
It was the CIA.
They sued everybody.
Don't even get me started on
Everyone.
pyramids right now, David. You don't want to hear it.
You want to talk about pyramid
I've been
schemes?
listening way too much.
I got another vote of
completely
confidence for
unfounded.
talking about cryptids more on the podcast and conspiracy theories. So
What is that, 2?
that's 2.
Guys, come on.
That's 2.
Speak up. If you don't want it, you got to speak up. We
If-
got 2-0.
If we only think about our YouTube audience, that's almost half of our YouTube audience wanting it to be more about
cryptids
Bigfoot.
and conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, like, I'm happy to talk about.
I mean, we'll see.
Did you know
we'll see.
there's rumors of Bigfoot turning up in the next Grand Prix?
No.
They think, yeah, everybody's been talking about it. You
Is
haven't
it
heard
just
about this?
Esteban Ocon?
Yeah, he grew a beard. He is pretty tall.
He is tall.
He's
That's
a tall
why I
guy.
picked him.
Yeah.
I think he's the tallest one.
Is he the
Anyways,
tallest?
Yeah.
Lanky dude.
The Lankmeister. Anyhow, the first section of that fan mail that we completely skipped over. Yeah, what was Red Bull thinking? That was pretty brutal
I
for
don't.
Red Bull to sign him to a 2-year contract, and then immediately he qualified 18th.
Well, he also didn't do well at Monaco.
No.
He did terrible.
So it's very obvious that they're just like, hey,
Money.
perfect number 2 driver, and maybe if it's true, sponsorship money.
I'd imagine that is true. Because
It'll be interesting to see if Ford really does drop Red Bull.
you think they will? I don't think they will.
Well, no, it's just there was a bunch of rumors because of what happened earlier this year
drama.
that Ford didn't want to be associated with that.
Yes,
so
all the Red Bull drama.
it'll be interesting to see if they don't have Ford. That's a bunch of money. That's a title sponsor gone.
That is a title sponsor gone. A big one, too.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if people know this. Ford is a pretty big company.
Ford's pretty big.
Pretty big company.
You know, it's a pretty big small business.
I like to think
We're all
of
about
them
small business here, Drain
like
guys.
they're a bit of an underdog. Oh,
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about that actually. Scrap the Ford thing. Who cares about that? That was
But yeah,
terrible.
anyways, Red Bull signing Perez was a bad move, and it was proven immediately.
Yeah.
And I do want to put one defense in defense of Perez spinning out of the race. Okay? I have to.
Uh-huh.
It's not fair to judge him for being a few centimeters offline and spinning out. It's not.
I agree.
It's not.
Because I said this as well.
Yeah.
Because the superfan in person was talking to me about it in person.
Just ripped into you.
And I said a couple other people spun out in the same section.
Carlos Sainz did.
Yeah.
It literally centimeters. That's all you needed to be. You needed to be centimeters. There was a dry line clearly established. It was 1 car width wide.
Since we have not established, it was raining in Canada.
Raining. Yes.
And so the track was wet, which means it's very slippery.
And there was 1 dry line. It was the width of 1 car.
Yep.
If you went centimeters onto the wet, your outside wheels got wet and they spun. So personally, I saw that Perez spun out, and I didn't watch the race live because honestly I fell asleep. So I was a little I was a little tired boy
Sleepy
this
guy.
weekend. It is what it is, sleepy boy.
Sleepy guy. It was in like the middle of the day.
Yeah, that's why I was sleepy.
Well, like,
dude, I laid down. You can't lay down. You can't lay down post 2 o'clock for me. You just can't. I guess I'm like 45 now or something. I don't know. Adulthood has hit me hard. if I'm horizontal after 2, I am sleeping.
I was watching it while playing Mario Kart. It's kind of hard to pay attention.
See, that
to
is
both.
way more offensive to the Canadian Grand Prix than falling asleep. It's an innocent thing. I'm a growing boy. I'm a hard-working boy.
Yeah.
So what? I fall asleep at 2 p.m. on a Sunday. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It was more like 3 p.m. Anyways, I fell asleep, and then I saw that he spun out, and I was like, oh, what the heck? And then I watched it, and I went, oh, he was centimeters offline.
Yeah.
And spun.
He did spin worse than any of the other drivers there that spun out there.
Certainly, but he spun earlier, so it was wetter.
Slightly.
Anyways.
The timing there wasn't that different than other people that
you wanted to talk about something, and I cut you off.
You
what
did.
What was it?
I've been getting some emails in through the Grain Guys email that I couldn't help but take notice of because I forgot we had done this.
What's that?
Google? Grain Guys Google business location and the traction reports on how many people have been looking up our location on Google.
Yeah.
You just like doxed yourself.
I didn't think it'd be a big deal.
It was very fun seeing the amount of people that had Googled us, though. That was
How many?
Nice. It was like, I think like 12 people trying to get to your house.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Do you not want me to say that? Do we have to edit this out now?
I put it on Google.
I
should probably change it, but I was all amped up that night. It was before we even did a podcast. I was amped. I was like, yeah, I'm going to make a business email, and then I realized it costs $5 a month, and I went, okay, I'm not making a business email.
Yo, why would you bother making a business email at that point?
I don't know, because it would have
what
been
does it
cool.
Get you? No, but like,
it gets
what's
you
the
at
benefit?
grainguys.com instead of Gmail.
That's right.
See, that pretty sick.
That would have been cool.
Would have been cool, but anyways, yeah, I should probably change that.
Possibly.
Anyhow, it'll be fine. I'll change it.
Thousands of viewers now.
It's true.
Technically.
It's true. I just come home from work and there's like 1,000 people on my front lawn, and like down the street.
They're asking for your autograph.
Yeah, and I'd be like, "Back up, guys! I gotta barbecue some hot dogs."
Yeah,
they'll be like,
"Got some steaks to grill."
I got some steaks to grill. Get out of my way.
My co-host has never had a good steak. I gotta show him what he's missing.
I must fix this scenario single-handedly. Anyhow, yeah, I should probably change that. Moving on.
Maybe.
Should we talk about the race? Actually,
I don't know. Do you want to? It's
I
pretty boring.
Guess. It was pretty boring. Kidding.
Crappy race.
Might have been the best race of the year. Might have been. F1.
No, there was one other good one.
Oh yeah, name it.
I forget.
Same. It is actually hard when you watch all the races and then talk about them. It is hard to keep it straight.
Yeah.
Because you kind of relive the
Miami
races
was a very
twice.
exciting race.
Miami was amazing.
That was a very exciting race.
But then it's like Australia was amazing.
Australia was good.
Was fun.
Yeah. Yep.
Every Red Bull downfall has been fun.
That's true.
Right? Monaco was good in its own way for me. It's basically just me only.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It is what it is. Anyhow, where do we start? So qualifying, we established that Sergio Perez got knocked out right away. The Ferraris got knocked out in Q2, so they did not advance on to the final 10. That was heartbreaking. I did not watch Q1, actually, because of it. I was pissed. So, how was Q1?
there wasn't anything crazy going on in the first round of qualifying other than Perez getting out.
Yep.
Which was pretty shocking. But, like, minus that, it was kind of what we had been seeing in the weekend previously, which was a bit surprising. Mercedes doing way better, I think, than anybody could have anticipated.
True.
Max was still setting perfectly fine times the entire time. There was no reason to ever count him out, realistically.
No. There was complaints over the radio about the car, but that was it.
Yeah, he did in the race a little bit too, I
Yeah.
think. He complained about the car as
But
well.
it didn't underperform.
Yeah, clearly they still won, and nobody was even really catching him at the end.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what he's complaining about ever, but apparently the car sucks.
Yeah.
So, boo-hoo to Max. Sorry about that, buddy.
Yeah, tough.
Hope they can give you a good car next year.
Oh, no.
That'd be great.
Yeah. I'm not winning every race.
But, yeah, first round of qualifying, nothing crazy to highlight.
Other than George Russell got pole position. I guess we could highlight this. George Russell and Max Verstappen got the exact same time.
Yeah, it's only happened like once before.
Yep.
Where they've gotten the exact same time. And to be clear, this is the exact same time on a lap down to 3 decimal places.
So that is the 1,000th of a second.
Yep. That's crazy. That is not an easy thing to have happen.
No, they don't even measure beyond that. For timing in F1. And George Russell got pole because he set the lap first, which is interesting how that works. I didn't actually know that that's how that worked.
Yeah, I found that out too.
Whoever sets the lap time first, if it's the same time, they get the position.
That's it makes sense though.
It does.
Like
It certainly does.
Setting that time on a fresher track because as more people drive on the track, it gets what's called rubbered in, which means that the traction improves for the tires. And then it's easier to set faster lap times because there's more grip.
Car's less warmed up. Your tires are less warmed up. Yep. And just the fact that you did it first. Cool. Here you go.
Yeah. So it makes sense. Fair.
Dibs.
Yep.
The principle of dibs.
Principle of dibs?
Is thriving in Montreal.
Yep.
So that was cool.
And then the McLarens did well because they were after, like it was Russell, then Max, both McLarens.
Yep.
And then Hamilton was below, or was it?
I can't remember. To be honest, for once, I didn't write down the starting grid.
Oh, no, we're underprepared.
Oh, no. Our listeners come to us for this information.
I know. We're a reliable source of the grid order consistently. Yeah. We actually once got criticized by somebody for not having this information readily on hand.
Oh,
As you can see, we've improved this greatly over the time that we've been operating this podcast.
You almost said over the years.
I did almost say over the years.
I heard you say over the over the year.
Operated about a year now?
After summer break, it'll be a year.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alas, don't have it, and whoever thinks that we should have that information on hand, you can come sit in that chair and pull it up for us.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to.
How about that?
We will not pay you.
You'll
have to take a lot of time.
I love challenging people that I don't have any problem with.
Yeah.
Just very aggressively.
Yeah.
Why don't you sit in that chair and help us do the thing we should be doing? Huh? Why don't you do that?
Look, we're not
getting paid. You want to be mean? Help me.
We're not getting paid for this. We would love to be.
You're definitely not getting paid if you're sitting in that chair.
Paid. So
I doxed myself for free. Because it seemed cool at the time.
I mean, it's cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Anyhow. So, yeah, that was qualifying.
Yeah.
Start of the race came around.
Yes.
What were the conditions, David?
Very wet to start the race off.
Very.
Very wet. A lot of rain, a lot of water on the track.
There was standing water at the first turn, technically, kind of second turn. Like, there was a pretty big puddle, actually. It was causing big troubles because, for whatever reason, I actually watched the Porsche Cup and Ferrari Challenge race.
Oh, okay.
To try and get an idea of how the track was going to be. And, yeah, it was not drying up. And those races were hectic.
Dang.
Big crashes and spins in both of those. So I was like, dang, this is gonna be a bit of a tough one. But anyways, the F1 guys kept it together for the start at least.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay.
So yeah, it was very wet. Everybody started on intermediates except for Haas. They both started on full wet tires.
Yes. The blue tires.
So should we start with that?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Because there really wasn't a scrap into the first corner. Russell kind of pulled away. Everybody kind of just fell into line. Nothing bad happened. They kept it clean, which was good.
Yeah. It was pretty straightforward at the start. Everybody did keep it clean, which was pretty surprising for the conditions. After that, then all of a sudden, we start seeing some people making some moves in the field.
Two people making
some moves, and that would be the Haas drivers.
The Haas boys on the full wet tires.
Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hulkenberg.
It was crazy.
They were flying along. I think how Magnussen made it up into like 4th.
Yes, he went from P14 to P4.
Which is crazy.
I don't remember
That's
the amount of laps
of.
that were in there. I should have kept my notes, but it was very fast.
Yep.
Like multiple passes per lap.
Yep.
And he made up 10 positions on full wet tires.
Yeah.
It was crazy, it was a good thing because I don't know if people know this, but there was actually quite a controversy. I believe it was in 2022 because there was an issue with like the full wet tires because I'm trying to remember exactly how it played out, but effectively race control would just red flag really wet conditions.
Yes.
And they wouldn't even let people get out on the full wet tires because the full wet tires kind of sucked.
They did. Yep.
There wasn't a
They're
reason
bad.
to use the full wet tires. It was either just intermediates if it's wet. If it's wetter than that, they would just red flag it. So then the wet tires were useless.
Yeah.
And nobody could use them in the strategy. It was basically just an intermediate race. But they've improved the wet tires, obviously.
Yes.
Because they were actually used and they were useful.
Yeah.
They were able to get heat into them and keep heat in them. And, they were thrashing through the field. It was amazing.
They were. Honestly, if they had just pitted a little bit sooner back to Inters, they probably could have gotten really good points.
Held on to some of that gain.
Yeah.
Because essentially they waited too long. Then both of them were losing time because the track started to dry out. And then the intermediate was the better tire. And then they switched to intermediates, and it tumbled them right back down the field because of them losing time and then having to take the pit stop.
Yep.
So that was a little bit sad to see. But what a spectacle that was.
Oh, yeah.
In those first, I think it was under 10 laps.
Yep.
It was crazy.
They made up a lot of positions.
I was just watching Magnussen, and I'm like, wow. I was like, wow, this is crazy. But he's picking off the lower points people.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden he's in 7th, and he's still passing people like it's nothing. And then he got up to P4, along. And I was like, holy smokes. The only people ahead of him were, was it Norris, Verstappen, and Russell.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow. But it was not to last.
No, unfortunately not. It would have been exciting if they could have held on to that a little bit better. But the race was still good regardless of that.
Certainly.
There was some very good racing all throughout it between those top three that we just talked about. Norris, Russell, and Verstappen were all fighting back and forth, changing positions.
Yes.
Norris was flying along during the middle part of the race and just decimating everybody. He was setting fastest lap after fastest lap.
The McLarens were unbelievably fast.
So fast.
Which actually, this is just a quick aside, and maybe we'll come back to it.
Yep.
Has brought them a bit of heat.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why? Do people think they're cheating or something?
The FIA demanded that they submit their fuel pumps.
Really?
Yeah.
And did anything get found?
Not yet, but we'll see.
Okay.
And FIA has been poking around their garages and inspecting their cars more.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
So what the FIA requested was they requested a fuel pump. So McLaren uses a Mercedes engine. So what the FIA requested was they requested a fuel pump from Mercedes, which is a stock fuel pump, and then they requested the fuel pump from McLaren. Because McLaren is so much faster than Mercedes, but has the same engine.
I did not know this.
So the suspicion is that McLaren may have altered their fuel pump like Ferrari did in 2019.
Really?
to be able to get way more power out of the car. That's the suspicion.
Interesting.
It could be completely wrong.
Wouldn't that be kind of crushing if the only reason McLaren's being fast is because they're cheating?
It would be crushing, and I would hope the FIA would not publish it and let it happen so that we can keep getting more competitive stuff.
But to be fair, Mercedes was just as quick this race.
They were.
Lewis Hamilton had the fastest lap at the end of the race.
But it was after Monaco they requested the fuel pumps.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I imagine we would have heard something by now then.
If they found something. But I don't remember the timeline of how everything happened in 2019.
Okay.
But basically, Charles Leclerc got those 2 wins.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden people were like, they're awfully fast. And then they did an investigation, found something that was never revealed because it's Ferrari. It's the FIA and it's Ferrari.
Yep.
Long-standing relationship. The FIA was kind of always preferred Ferrari in scenarios where anything happens. They always try and protect Ferrari because it's their oldest team. It's a legacy team. I get it. And yeah, they never released what happened. People have suspicions on what happened, very good, well-informed suspicions, but technically cheating using a fuel pump. I won't go into the techniques used and the nerdery, but it is a fun conversation.
Wow.
Maybe one day we'll do a deep dive video on it.
Yeah, do some technical analysis videos.
Yeah.
Or
technical storytelling, we'll call it.
Pods, dude.
Ooh, specific
Pods.
Technique pods.
Yeah, doing a couple of tech pods.
Tech pods, maybe. Who knows?
Whoa.
We're
Pod
young.
it up.
We're young.
When are we doing a parody music video of something? It's kind of like a logical progression.
Any day.
Yeah.
Any day.
Like we take something. What's a popular song right now? What's the song you've been hearing on the radio a lot?
I can only think of the ones I hate.
Yeah, that's fine. It doesn't matter.
Like the ones that I would like really not want to do.
No, that's okay. Yeah.
Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter.
Okay, I don't really know how that song goes, but like instead of like espresso, we could be like Max Verstappen. And then we could be like,
or we could do a comedy skit where we dress up in black Hugo Boss uniforms and call ourselves the Verstappen. Or not. Maybe not.
Are we the baddies?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly my thought. Black Hugo Boss uniforms with caps and lions insignias. The Verstappos.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll save the rest for the writing room, perhaps.
Yeah. Maybe for Halloween.
Yeah, we'll get there.
10 years from now.
Yeah, what can the Drain guys not do is really the question.
Yeah.
To which I answer, nothing.
We're really bound by nothing.
We cannot do.
Reality is our own.
Nothing. Reality is our oyster.
Yeah.
Which is the saying.
Yes. Well, no.
It's a cruel, unshucked oyster.
A
cruel, raw,
reality is hyper
oyster.
confined to whatever's inside the oyster.
It's also dirty and slightly lukewarm.
Reality sucks.
But it's our oyster.
It's ours, but it sucks.
And I'll be damned if I can't shuck my own oyster. My own lukewarm, Canada G, Agent Orange oyster. Anyways.
What's your opinion on Red Lobster?
Are you asking this because of their failure? That was improperly named because of the endless shrimp thing.
What failure?
You don't know they're going bankrupt?
Are they going bankrupt?
Yes.
Because of the endless
I thought you
shrimp?
were like asking me about current events, and I was like, well, I actually know something about this. Red Lobster breaking. Red Lobster is going bankrupt. And people are saying it's because they offered an endless shrimp buffet, but that is not true. It's because private equity bought them up and leased their land back to them at an absurd rate that sunk the entire thing.
So essentially, people are trying to short sell.
They bought
Red Lobster?
so they bought Red Lobster because they got all the real estate with Red Lobster, and then they sold Red Lobster's real estate, not the restaurants, but the real estate that they're on, to another subsidiary of theirs, and then leased it back to Red Lobster at exorbitant rates so that they made a ton of money on these properties that they just bought. They bankrupted Red Lobster, and then now they own all this real estate and got to make all this money over the past 10 years.
I think I'm supposed to be going to Red Lobster on Monday.
Well, I wouldn't get the endless shrimp.
That's what we were going for.
Were you actually?
Yeah.
Well, then get the endless shrimp.
That's what Logan said.
This is what, okay. But yeah, that's actually why. So I just educated you on what's going on, but get the endless shrimp.
So we're going to get the endless shrimp to help bankrupt them faster.
Well, people are blaming it on the endless shrimp, but it's a much bigger problem than
You think the endless shrimp was part of it, though?
It didn't help. I don't think you endless your way out of any problem, ever.
But how does the Mandarin stay afloat?
They don't have endless anything.
Yeah, the whole thing's endless.
Well, it's endless, but you pay a lot for it.
I mean, you pay your standard rate, and then you can eat as much as you can eat.
Yeah, but they make... Anyways.
It's the same thing.
This is not the Red Lobster podcast. The Lobster guys.
Oh, we should just change to
It'll
anything
like
kind of fish-related.
No.
Yeah, just
that for some reason that grosses me out.
You don't like
I'm
the
disgusted.
Fish.
I'm
well,
disgusted
we could talk
by the
about
thought
anglers.
Why?
Shoo. Guys fishing. That guy's quite an angler.
All right, nope. We're going back to the race.
You remember River Monsters?
Don't bring River Monsters into this, David.
Yeah, we could talk about that guy.
You know I love River Monsters.
Yeah, so he's an angler.
You know I watched every single episode multiple times at my cousin's
We could talk
houses.
about anglers.
You know that I bought his book and read it.
We could talk about anglers angling for angler fish.
Do you know why they ended that TV show?
Well, he caught everything.
Exactly.
He's the best.
Exactly.
Best fisherman to ever live.
That's like if Formula One ended.
They raced everything.
Because they raced everything. But he did. Anyways. The race. McLaren looked really good. And then there was a safety car. Logan Sargent crashed, correct?
Logan Sargent did crash.
R.I.P. Logan Sargent as a quick aside because we always do asides.
Yeah.
James Vowles is openly talking about trying to get Carlos Sainz, so R.I.P. to Logan Sargent's seat.
I mean, I think we all knew he wasn't sticking around. Oh, I saw a funny stat. Logan Sargent.
Load it up. I know what it is.
Logan Sargent
Load it up.
has been out-qualified by his teammate. Now, I think the score is about 30-0.
It is.
But Logan Sargent has out-qualified Sergio Perez 6 times. The guy in the fastest car has been out-qualified by Logan Sargent.
Folks, it doesn't really get tougher than that. That's a tough bounce. That's like trying to catch up a greased-up football on a basketball court.
I don't want to trash on Logan, but he is the slowest driver on the grid.
Objectively.
He just is. He is the slowest person currently in F1. He is not in the fastest car.
Yeah.
Yet he has still managed to outperform the person driving the fastest car six times.
Over his 2-year career.
But not his teammate.
Nope. Ever.
Who is driving the same car as him. Ever.
But objectively, if you're one of the people who only look at qualifying.
Yep.
He's better. Anyhow, one lap pace, he's better than Perez.
He's better, yeah.
Anyhow, so he crashed, and then the safety car shuffle happened again, but this time the safety car caught Norris. Norris was in the lead, and it caught him and slowed him right down.
Yes.
They got payback from Miami.
Yep.
So Max Verstappen and George Russell were able to pit under the safety car, come out, try and catch the safety car. Norris pitted and then came out just behind Verstappen and was racing him like crazy out of the pits.
Yep.
On wet slicks.
Yep.
Because the pit exit road was still wet. That was so cool watching him wrangle. Did you see that drift that he did?
I did not actually.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Exiting the pits. Norris is trying to speed up as much as he can on wet, slick tires on a wet part of the track while Max Verstappen is on a dry part of the track. And he is fighting, he's fishtailing the car for a couple hundred feet. And full on opposite lock counter steer while still bleeding in the throttle.
Wow.
It was crazy. Didn't lose the car, got in behind Max, and then I think George Russell passed him eventually because he was on warmer tires, but then Norris got him back.
Yep.
But great fighting from the top three. And
Yeah.
I think Max Verstappen only won by 3 seconds.
Yeah,
3 or
not
4
not a
seconds.
crazy
So
huge
Max Verstappen
victory.
did win. Whatever.
Oh.
Lewis Hamilton put up a pretty good fight against Russell actually as well.
Yeah, and Hamilton was pretty mad.
He was.
He was
Quite
actually
furious.
very upset. So
Yeah.
Hamilton came fourth, which is a good result. It's
Considering he started 10th?
no, he wasn't that far
Seventh?
down. It was something like 7th.
7th.
Um,
I'll find out.
But Hamilton came fourth, which is a pretty good. That's good for Hamilton, and that's good for Mercedes. They haven't been great this year, so that's good. But Hamilton was mad at the team because he had wanted to go onto soft tires, and they had a fresh set, and they chose to put him on hards. So they refused to listen to him on strategy. He was really mad about that because the softer tires could have been faster. And Montreal is traditionally a track that he really loves.
Yes.
And he felt pretty confident that he could have done better and really felt like the team let him down and was just frustrated at the end of the race.
Yeah.
And it went so far as to call it one of the worst races he's ever had in
Which
F1.
is pretty crazy.
That I was shocked by
That's
that.
pretty crazy. But I guess the disappointment of believing what you could have done was there and not
Yeah.
being able to achieve it.
Yeah.
I don't think he's wrong in saying that he is not getting the best of the Mercedes team.
I agree. I think the team is letting
I do
him
think
down.
that is a bit by design.
I agree as well.
I actually do.
Yeah.
Because why would they?
No, they're going to support. So Hamilton is leaving Mercedes.
Yeah, this year.
So they're going to support the driver that's staying more at this point,
Yep.
and that's George Russell.
So George is now their lead driver.
Yeah.
So it would make sense to start treating him like a lead driver this year so that next year he can kind of take off running.
Yep.
With the team kind of based around him.
Yeah.
With whoever they get in.
Yeah.
Which we will get to.
We will get to. We will get to.
We will get to because there's rumors.
There's some rumors.
It's the rumor weed sprouting up again.
Rumors.
The rumor weed. Anyhow.
Sebastian Vettel, eh?
What else was there? Yeah, Sebastian Vettel, the Mercedes,
Wow.
for sure.
Oh, I love that guy.
But yeah, so that was how that rounded out. Who even? You know what? I feel so bad. I didn't even
What?
really. I was so blind with rage. I didn't even pay attention to who finished under Hamilton.
It was the Aston Martin boys. It was Piastri and then the Aston Martin boys.
Right. Was
So-
Alonso ahead of Stroll?
Yeah,
or not?
Alonso ahead
Yeah.
of Stroll.
So it went Verstappen won, Norris got second, Russell got third, Hamilton got fourth, Piastri was fifth, Alonso sixth, Stroll seventh, eighth Daniel Ricciardo, ninth Pierre Gasly, and 10th Esteban Ocon. So points, even though Esteban Ocon complained a bunch because he had to give up his place to Pierre and he didn't get to get it back.
Yes.
But that's what you get when you crash into your teammate 2 times in a row and almost
Yes.
ruin the entire team's chances.
We didn't get to that.
And we didn't get to the fact that they officially parted ways with Esteban Ocon.
No, we haven't talked about that.
No.
They have officially fired Ocon at the
For
end of
next
this year.
Yeah, he's done. He's not getting a contract renewal.
Yep. Alpine wants to have nothing to do with him anymore, and
Yep.
they have said, we want you to go.
And rumor has it that the team boss wanted to sit him for the Canadian Grand Prix, but they
Yep.
were too worried about lawyers.
Yeah, apparently.
Because apparently F1 drivers have a, and I'm not actually, this is not a joke, apparently F1 drivers have a right to work,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is crazy.
Some kind of union going on there. I don't know.
I didn't know the F1 drivers had a union. I would have joined up.
Yeah. Join the F1 union.
What would it be called? The local, like,
Oh, yeah. What's their local chapter?
yeah,
For an
Local-
international organization.
I don't know.
Be interesting. But
Local 413, I don't know.
But yeah,
Anyways.
so Ocon's going to be leaving Alpine.
Yep.
They're being very public about this. Apparently something in Ocon's contract prevented them from essentially firing him early.
Yes, or just sitting him at the very least.
Yeah,
to
just sitting him
punish
out. And so they want to get rid of that guy.
And they are.
In the race, Gasly was behind Ocon, and they were like, swap positions, let Gasly have a chance at catching whoever was in front of him at the time. I think it might have been Ricardo. And
I
so
believe so, yes.
they swapped them around, and typically what happens with teammates if that call gets made, you swap positions. The other driver gets to take a chance at getting past the person in front. If they do not, you then swap positions back so that the person that had the position originally gets the points because it's only fair. What happened in this scenario is that Alpine swapped them around and put Gasly in front of Ocon. And then at the end of the race, they were still in the same position, and Ocon was like, "Are you going to swap us back?" They came over the radio, and they just said, "Nope." And he
lost it in a nice way. He lost it.
He was angry.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fair this time, because that is typically standard practice, and that was like them very much being like, "We do not want you around anymore. Deal with it."
Yeah.
But normally teams don't go so out of their way to aggravate their drivers that are on their way out as well.
There's also like it's not just. I don't know if Alpine concocted that up. There can be more behind it. So a lot of the times when this exact scenario happens, when they don't let the driver behind through when you would expect them to,
Yeah.
it's because the team is making a judgment call on their pace.
Right.
Okay? So the team can see Gasly's lap times and Ocon's lap times.
Yep.
And they know what condition each car is in, what condition the tires are in for each.
Yep.
I would believe. I mean, well, here's the thing. Let me get this out of the way. I do believe that it could be possible that they just wanted to piss Ocon off and keep him behind and reward Pierre for putting up with this.
Yeah.
That they could have done that. They could very well have done that.
I wouldn't be that surprised if they did.
I wouldn't put it that far past them.
No.
But it is also completely reasonable for them to have seen that Pierre had better pace than Ocon, and that Ocon never actually posed a threat to Ricciardo. Sorry, Gordon's getting his head caught in a bag handle, so I have to stop it.
No, I think he's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, he's not caught.
So he gets his head caught in grocery bag handles and then loses it and takes off.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it would have been a... Anyhow, he didn't.
All
He's
right.
fine. So it could go either way. The French thing would be to switch la position and then not to give them back.
Yep.
Which would be sort of funny in its own way. But yeah, he was just on the radio like, "Oh, yeah, nice guys."
The thing is, like, they were still in those positions on the last laps, too.
Yeah.
And at that point, there doesn't matter if Gasly has a faster pace.
It's true.
If they're going to end the race in those positions, you would traditionally swap them back.
So then I guess it's kind of the same thing as Mercedes, where they have Gasly for next year.
Oh, you think so?
I bet they do. What's Gasly done wrong?
Wait. You think Mercedes has Gasly?
No. Alpine they're preferring Gasly over Ocon because they have Gasly next year.
Yeah. Same deal.
Same deal.
Although, to be fair to Mercedes, they just said you guys are free to fight when both of them were running on different compounds, and like they had every opportunity. Both of them just ran their race.
It's true.
So whereas Alpine, it was like specifically team orders that went heavily against one driver.
Yep.
And heavily in favor of another.
I'm very sorry. I have to pause this. I got to check what's going on upstairs.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So pause.
Sorry. No problem.
Resume.
Action.
I had to check if somebody was attacking my domicile. You got me all wigged out because I doxed myself. I totally have to change it. Now it's in my head. Anyways. Anyways. So yeah, we were talking about Alpine. And you are totally right. There wasn't anything to be gained other than giving Pierre more points because he's performed safer, we'll call it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, Ocon was just like, oh yeah, like his reaction was just like, oh yeah, nice guys, nice, yeah, nice, and that's just what he kept saying over and over. And they're like, hey, yeah, okay, sorry, we get it. And he said, yeah, nice, cool, yeah, nice.
Yeah, he said it like
It's
100
just like,
times.
chill out, man.
Yeah, it's true.
You did this.
It is his own fault. Like, it's all been his own doing. He's driven consistently in a dangerous and erratic manner.
Yeah.
It's earned him a lot of penalties over the last few years.
Yep.
It's created a lot of animosity between him and any teammate he's had.
Every single one.
Every single one. It's created a lot of animosity between him and other drivers, too.
Yeah.
So it's understandable. Like, Ocon has been a problematic driver that is now facing the consequences of his actions.
And if Alpine doesn't want to put up with that, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. So he has nobody that he can be mad at other than himself, but still kind of funny seeing him mad at the team.
Yeah, it was interesting.
It was interesting. But other than that, there wasn't like a whole lot of team drama, I'd say, during the race.
Other than Ferrari just botching the entire thing.
And one other little tidbit, which Perez has earned a penalty for.
Right. How could I forget?
Perez crashed. We talked about him spinning out already.
Yes.
He damaged his car severely in this crash.
Yeah.
The team told him to drive the car back to the pit lane because it was still in motion. But when the car is damaged as severely as Perez's was, that is not allowed. But Red Bull wanted to prevent a safety car being brought out. So, because Max was in the lead.
Yeah. And Norris would presumably be able to challenge for the lead.
Yeah. Potentially pit, who knows?
Yep.
And so they told Perez to drive the car back to the pits, severely damaged, and have now picked up a 3-place grid penalty for the next race.
Yes.
Which I don't think is a very severe penalty for what they did, because they are directly altering what would have happened in the race. Like, that is as close to cheating as you can get without modifying your car in an illegal manner. That is akin to the team orders for who was it to crash back in the day?
Singapore. It was
Singapore.
Nelson Piquet Jr.
Yeah, Nelson Piquet
So that
Jr.
Fernando Alonso could win.
Yes.
I saw that point was made. I've seen that point made. I disagree.
I think it's similar to that.
I disagree. That point was made that ordering something to happen to avoid a safety car is the same as causing a safety car. Hello, Gordon. Hey, dude. What do you think?
He's got a lot to say on the topic. He cares a lot about penalties.
Sorry, dude. I shouldn't have put you in the spotlight.
Yeah, it's a bit
Go back to
awkward.
sniffing things. Yeah, go on.
He likes that bag.
Yeah. I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree that making an order to avoid a safety car is the same as creating a steam to start a safety car scenario. I disagree with that. I don't think that stands because the one expresses extreme intent to completely break the rules and rig the outcome of a race as best as you can in your scenario.
I mean, they knew they were breaking the rules. Both are trying to rig the race in their in favor of their scenario.
But it's not as bad.
It's less
not
dangerous.
As bad. It's
Actually,
not
that's
as dangerous.
True. That's not true. It's not necessary. If a piece of carbon flew off of Perez's car, it was very damaged.
That could have been dangerous, sure. And there's a rule to be made. I'll agree with you that a 3-place grid penalty. Okay, well, I have a 3-place grid penalty doesn't sound enough, but for Sergio Perez, that puts him in 20th. So I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing. You can only put somebody in 20th, right?
Yeah.
They're putting the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
You don't have to bury him. He'll bury himself at the next race. And the next race is Spain.
Yeah.
And Perez does not do well on permanent tracks for whatever reason.
He does not. He's got an issue with them.
He does. So anyhow, but the point I'm getting back to is Singapore 2008. What happened was the Renault F1 team created a scheme wherein their worst driver would spin out, total his car, and bring out a safety car on a certain lap so that Fernando Alonso could pit for fresh tires just before it and therefore gain the lead.
Yes.
Whereas all the other teams would be surprised by the safety car, Fernando Alonso would not be.
Yeah.
That is blatant cheating. They banned Flavio Briatore for doing that.
Okay.
He was banned from F1, David.
I do agree it's
Banned.
not as severe.
Felipe Massa lost the championship because of that.
He's still trying to sue F1 for that.
Yes.
He's still trying to sue F1 for that. So
Felipe Massa lost that championship. That affected other people's lives. The outcomes of careers.
Yes.
You cannot tell me that Sergio Perez driving his car, which was not stalled, back to the pits with a broken rear wing because his rear wing was broken. That is unsafe.
Okay.
That is not right.
I think both of them are
But
cheating.
you cannot equate it to something that got a team principal banned from the sport for life and ruined a championship drive. That's simply not fair.
Okay.
The second I read that, I was like, no.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. It's stupid. I do agree that
But this is a fun conversation.
I do agree that it's not as severe. I do think both of them constitute cheating, though. Deliberate cheating.
Sure, and Red Bull and Perez should be punished. Is a 3-place grid penalty that bad?
Not really.
Not really, but then as the joke that I made before that I still totally believe in, it's Sergio Perez on a track, so that could put him from 18th to 20th.
Maybe.
You know what they should do? If you here's my idea again. We're back to Noah and David's grand F1 ideas.
Yeah,
F1, hire us.
Hire us.
If you have a 3-place grid penalty and you qualify 19th or 20th or like 18th, let's say if you qualify under P17,
Yep.
you got to do a pit lane start.
I could get behind that.
Straight up.
Yeah.
It's worse than starting at the back. No, you start from the pit lane.
Yeah.
You qualified poorly and you did something bad the race before. You get to start from the pit lane.
Yeah.
Maybe, do you think a 5-place grid penalty is more reasonable?
I think so the reason I think 5 place is better
Yeah.
is because
I'll agree that, like, okay, if you're Max Verstappen and you're handed a 3-place grid penalty,
it doesn't matter.
as long as we're not at Monaco, it
But
does not matter. So I agree.
The reason I think a grid place penalty is better is because it still forces the team to try in qualifying. Whereas if you just tell them you're starting from the pit lane,
Yeah.
they don't have to use any additional tires.
Right.
They can just coast around the track,
Right.
set one time,
Yeah.
drive into the pit, and park the car.
No, I'm saying as a consequence. So you would have a pit lane, you would have a grid penalty.
Yeah.
You would have the grid penalty. But I'm saying an extra little fun, spicy rule is that if you have a really bad qualifying, it gets a lot worse for you.
Oh,
That's
so you
what I'm
have
saying.
to qualify well.
Yes.
Oh, I like. Yeah,
That's
that
what
works.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that if you qualify, let's say if you have a 3-place grid penalty and you're out in Q3, you start from the pit lane.
Yeah.
That would be the Sergio Perez rule.
Okay. They'll label it that.
We're
as in
never
the
getting
rule
hired
book
by
too.
F1. Oh no,
Ah.
we're cooked. We're cooked. They're gonna be like, these two white guy Canadians don't like the only Mexican driver.
Yeah, we're gonna get attacked by the.
It's not because of that.
Mexican
it's because
F1
of it's
community.
it's because of his driving habits. I can't
Yeah,
stand it.
I just don't think he's a good
It
driver.
sucks. He's done good things. He's been good.
Yeah,
but the
he's had
past
good
2 years he's been
moments.
brutal.
Yeah.
Anyways, we got to move on from this.
Yeah, we're always talking about Perez.
Well-deserved grid penalty. We
Yeah.
gotta shut up about Perez. Gets us in passion though.
I mean,
Anyways,
you just get fired up about a topic like that.
you can't tell me. I just will not stand for it. That Singapore 2008, Canada 2024 comparison. I won't stand for it. It's a fun conversation, but
I agree.
you'll hear from
I
me.
agree. That's
That's
fair.
okay. I'm glad you brought it up because then I had somebody mano a mano.
Yes.
Mano a mano to talk about.
Yes,
it. But
I
anyhow.
do agree.
Anyhow.
I do agree.
What else is farther back from there? I mean, Ferrari. I want to defend Ferrari a little bit.
Oh,
A lot of people said that Ferrari's strategy was crap.
well, Charles even.
It's not
said
fair. Not fair.
Well, you have their own drivers criticizing it. So who are you to tell
The
them?
strategy. Okay, all right. You know what I will say? If I love Charles Leclerc,
Yeah.
love him.
Yeah.
Love him. Favorite driver by far.
Yes.
Gordon again. What's up, dude?
Yeah.
What's up, brother?
Don't get too distracted there.
Sorry, I'm looking into his eyes. Charles Leclerc. I love Charles Leclerc, but I'm going to sit here and hope that he was talking about their qualifying strategy. I'm reaching here.
I think their qualifying strategy was bad as well.
I don't see what they could have done with the race strategy. They had an engine problem. What are they going to do about it? When they pitted him, they restarted his engine. It seemed to fix the problem. He was effectively last, so they put him on hard tires on the chance that he could make it through the rain. That's a Hail Mary that you got to do when you're second last.
Yeah.
You have to do that. If you put him on intermediates, you're guaranteed he'll get nowhere because everybody else is on intermediates.
I think the problem is they're still driving a Ferrari. It should still theoretically be one of the fastest cars on the grid. If you follow a traditional strategy there, you should be able to pass people. And instead, they did a Hail Mary in one of the fastest cars on the grid.
And still retired the car, but that was because the issue was bigger. They couldn't fix the issue.
Yeah. So, like, the issue's there, but, like, the strategy's still bad when you're driving one of the fastest cars out of everybody's cars. Because if you follow a similar strategy to other people, you should be able to pass them, especially on a track like Canada.
I'd have to look at the gap.
Possible.
I'd have to look at the gap. Because if he was 19th and 30 seconds back, it doesn't matter. He would have to make up a 30-second deficit and pass people.
The engine issue is separate, but like even signs, they were running like
intermediates.
Yeah, but like
and then mediums. They were doing what everybody else was doing with signs, weren't they?
I think so.
Yeah.
But like Ferrari shouldn't have to do Hail Mary plays.
No, but that was an engine issue.
Right, but
you shouldn't have an engine issue. I know. Tell me about it. All of 2022 is like in my mind right now.
Still, either way, qualifying, clearly they got the strategy wrong.
Yeah.
Big time in qualifying. Clearly they got the setup for the car just wrong in qualifying as well. They weren't willing to use their soft tires, which they didn't even use in the race anyways.
I didn't even think about that. That was brutal. I didn't even do that math. Oh.
They butchered qualifying horribly. So, like, either way, it doesn't really matter. Charles is right. They still screwed up strategy somewhere along the lines.
I must defend my Ferrari.
Ferrari. Well, Ferrari isn't defending Ferrari, so
it's all right. We'll build back better. We'll be stronger.
Make Ferrari great again.
Make Ferrari again.
Well,
wait, no.
Nah.
Make Ferrari, Mercedes, and Red Bull.
They're pretty Ferrari right now.
Yeah, they are.
That was peak Ferrari.
Oh, that was peak Ferrari. That was so tough. It
was bad.
Anyhow.
But they really did just like cook themselves in qualifying for no real reason. And I was so confused too because I watched Q1 and I was like, other times look competitive. Like what went wrong in the second round of qualifying? And it was that they just were like, well, we'll just cruise them around on this like one set of tires and hope for the best kind of thing.
Yeah, and then it rained the entire race, and people used either mediums or hards, not both.
Yeah. Yeah. Ferrari.
Yeah. Tough. It's a tough look, but you know what? Sometimes you gotta fall down to get back up again.
Yeah.
You know what they say? One step back, two steps forward.
What happened?
They also say that.
Get me down.
Oasis, right?
Is that? I don't think that's Oasis.
It's definitely not Oasis. It's totally
Because
not
maybe
Oasis.
you're gonna be
No.
After all.
If anything, we should No, I hate that song. See, that would be my number one song that we could not make a spoof video of. Because I wouldn't be able to listen to it to write something for it. Oh, no. It would be fun to auto-tune, though. I think that'd be entertaining.
Yeah, you could auto-tune it.
Anyhow, we basically got the race done, don't we?
There's some good spoofs you could do of that song. Like, you got the Wall of Champions where everybody crashes. The Wonder Wall. There's some potential to be had there already.
No
I'm cooking up ideas.
No comment. You'll just have to stay tuned, I guess.
Yeah.
Shall we get into the rumor mill?
Sure.
This one's fresh as of this morning.
Ah, wow. Okay.
Today is Wednesday?
Yeah.
Today Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Today is Wednesday after the Canadian Grand Prix, and as
Yeah.
of this morning of Wednesday, June 12th, it was rumored that Kimi Antonelli is signed with Mercedes. Heavy rumors.
Really?
Heavy rumors as in people face-to-face telling me, did you hear Kimi Antonelli signed with Mercedes? And
you
I
were like,
went,
that's fake
and
news.
I went, no, I did not hear that. Where did you hear that?
Yeah.
Listeners, where do you think they heard that? And I'm sorry that I'm dragging this person, but I spent all day being like, what did you think?
Tabloids?
They heard it on Reddit.
Oh, nice.
On Reddit. Pour one
Nice.
out for our listener that thought that was true.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to say, it could be true.
I mean, like, there's been some hints
I do go.
towards
He's a
it.
Mercedes like farm driver,
Yeah.
but this is his only year in F2. He doesn't have his points on his super license yet to get it. Logan Sargent barely had his points last year, and he was in F2 for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy. You're
Yeah.
such a socialite tonight. So I don't really see it happening. I think they sign somebody to a 1-year contract and then bring Antonelli in next year.
But who do they sign to a 1-year contract?
Don't know, don't care. But anyways, as of our recording,
Ocon.
Kimi Antonelli has we'll get to that rumor. Kimi Antonelli still does not drive for Mercedes
Yes.
in 2025.
Yes.
It would be exciting if he did. And
Yeah.
if this turns out to be true, that listener who came up to me and said that,
Good on you.
you were right.
Yep.
You got the scoop. But when I Google it, and the only source that comes up is a username called the Judge13,
Ooh.
and it's only
Ooh.
backed up by like 2 German Twitter accounts.
Yeah.
It's not great.
Yeah.
It's not great. I've got my sources. I've cultivated my internet sources to where they're very quick, they're very responsive, and they've got nothing on Kimi Antonelli.
No.
If you're right, this is going to be the most mythical rumor poll of all time. It'll be crazy. So I guess we'll just
Yeah.
have to see.
How's he even been doing in F2?
Not that great.
Yeah, he
I'm
hasn't
gonna
been
look up
doing
his
that
F2
fantastic.
points. And like, I'm not
remembered.
saying that to be like, he actually sucks because he's not scoring a lot in F2. It takes a bit in F2.
Yeah.
It's very competitive, and the F2 cars are much different because this is the first year of ground effect F2 cars.
Yep.
They're not the same as F3 cars.
Yeah.
It's a different car to drive, so I'll look up
Fair
his
enough.
points. So keep the
It's
people
just
busy.
like one of those things where, I mean, the people that have been the really big stars in F1 in the past are the people that have traditionally swept F2 and like really swept almost all of their racing series. This
Very
isn't
true.
always the case, but a lot of the time that's the case. Like the really big names in F1, that has been the case, that they've really come in and dominated pretty well every series that they were in.
It's true.
So, like when you have somebody like that was a rising star, and then they kind of just do like okay in F2, it's a bit disappointing, to say the least. You would really hope to see somebody like that step in and then really like show their presence in
Yeah.
Formula 2.
As an example, Oscar Piastri.
Yep.
Won F2 in his first year in F2.
Yep.
And we've seen what he can do in Formula 1.
Yeah, he's been pretty good.
Lewis Hamilton won F2 in his first year in F2.
Yep.
We've seen what he can do.
Yep.
Nico Rosberg won his first year in F2. We've seen what he can do. Unfortunately, Nico Hulkenberg also did, but that didn't quite equate.
Yeah.
Timing is a big thing.
I think Nico's gotten very unlucky, though. I think Nico
100%.
is genuinely
I
a
think he's-
very good driver.
I think he's the most unlucky driver.
Probably, honestly. Yeah, I'd agree
So
with that.
right now,
Poor guy.
Kimi Antonelli is 6th in the F2 standings at 48 points.
Yep.
Which is very good. Ton of hype around him because he did a tire test, which the mythical tire tests.
Yes, Ricardo did one last year.
Ricardo did one last year. He did a tire test, and I believe he matched George Russell's times in last year's car. So
Yes.
this was in last year's car as well.
Yes.
And he matched George Russell's times. But the thing is, I believe with these tire tests, you don't know what tires they're using.
It's true. You don't know what compound you're on. You don't know how soft it potentially is.
And the conditions.
Yeah.
The conditions. If it's a hot day when George Russell is driving and they can't get the best out of the tire without overheating it, he has to hold back a little bit.
Yep.
If it's a nice cool day when Antonelli is driving, he gets a slight advantage. I'm not discounting him, but, you know.
It's hard to compare.
Daniel Ricciardo hopped in the Red Bull at Silverstone and blew Sergio Perez out of the water.
Well, yeah, you setting times that would have put him just below max.
Yeah, on a tire test. And then he comes to F1 again and does not much.
And to clarify, a tire test, Pirelli, who makes all the tires for F1, will sometimes get teams to test new compounds of tires that they've created. And so they'll get a random driver to hop in for these tests and drive around the track for a while, setting lap times, and they'll collect some data on that driver, and they'll come back into the pits, and they'll be like, well, you did this on this mystery compound of tire given by Pirelli.
Pirelli gets to see how the tires actually behave under conditions, how they wear, what the compounds are doing, because they're constantly pushing the limits of what that can do.
Yep.
And so it's hard to kind of actually know what that true performance is. So anyways, I'm very excited for Kimi Antonelli to hopefully come to F1, and I'm excited to see what he can do in F2, but there are 5 drivers above him in F2 right now.
Yeah.
You know, and Oliver Behrman was quite impressive in his F1 debut, and you know, he's down in I think he's down in 10th in F2 standings.
Oh, it's really that low, eh?
I believe so.
And he's still got more points than a bunch of the drivers on the F1 grid right now.
Yeah.
Because he subbed in for one race.
Yeah.
Oliver
Behrman is 13th.
13th. Wow.
With 18 points. But look, I mean, F2 races, they do 2 races for every track that they visit. So they have a sprint race and a feature race. So there's 2 point scoring opportunities. So if your car is kind of trash, you get doubled down on horrible luck.
Yeah.
So it's almost kind of a different. You gotta take it with a grain of salt. It's not just who's finishing first. But yeah, there's some tough competition in F2.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyhow.
Well, what else was on the rumor mill?
What else is on the rumor mill? From my cultivated sources that I believe in have broached several things very quickly and rumored them very early. It's rumored that Esteban Ocon is being picked up by Haas.
By Haas?
Yeah.
To replace what, Magnussen? Why would they get rid of?
I think so because Hülkenberg. Well, no, Hülkenberg is going to Audi.
That's right. Hülkenberg's going to Audi.
So they could keep Magnussen as an experienced team member.
Yeah.
But that was pretty
to
interesting.
replace Hülkenberg.
So you have the 2 most aggressive drivers
paired together.
What could go wrong?
That seems like a stupid move, but who am I to judge? I don't know.
I don't run an F1 team, obviously.
By all means, if they want to do that, I don't know why anybody would hire Ocon at this point. He hasn't. I don't think Ocon's shown that he's worth picking up over a young talent or somebody else. I don't understand why anybody would go yep, we need to sign that guy. I don't know what he brings to the table in terms of sponsorships. I can't imagine an insane amount. I don't understand why anybody would be going after Ocon. I don't
really either. I don't really either, but I do understand that there's a massive part of the Formula 1 world that we don't get as spectators and people who try to pay attention to everything.
Yeah.
We don't know what agents are saying. We don't know how much sponsorship money people have behind them. We don't know how it breaks down. All we know is there's a cost cap that you can spend during the year.
Yep.
But can sponsorship money get funneled directly into facilities? We don't know. Because they're very tight-lipped about that kind of stuff. Because it's very competitive and cutthroat. So, anyhow, it is kind of weird. Like I've said before, I always lend myself more towards young talent.
Yep.
I would rather see more people from F2 have a shot in F1
I agree.
than keeping these guys who are in F1 that don't seem to be, I don't know, improving the experience that much. but I also do recognize that it's easy to get complacent with what we have.
Yeah.
The qualifying splits from pole to last are the tightest that they've ever been.
Yeah, the
So
racing
it's
is
crazy
good. It is
that,
actually good.
even just in general that we're saying Logan Sargent's the slowest one on the grid, we should get rid of him. It's crazy that he is delivering if he's the 20th driver,
Yeah.
which, like, honestly, Valtteri Bottas and Guan Yu Zhou have been about 50% of the time anyways
true.
as well, because
That's true.
State is terrible right now. If we're saying that he's too slow, it's not completely true. There have been worse drivers. That gap from pole to the slowest driver has been much, much bigger.
Yeah, I mean, the
over the
problem
past.
is you have to compare him to his teammate,
100%,
right?
100%. And I'm
And-
not defending Logan Sargent, but I am saying maybe what I'm suggesting, like I'm willing to offer that I might be looking at things wrong. If we bring a bunch of F2 talent in, it could be that they're more inexperienced than I think.
Yep.
And that gap from pole to last could be bigger. And then that would be
yeah.
a problem. That would be a problem.
Yeah, you never know.
I don't want that.
You never know. So fair enough. Fair enough. But even in terms of, like, we have, like, a lot of people sitting in reserve positions right now that have shown
yeah.
promising talent, things
Oh,
like
yeah.
that, and people that are probably ready to go. And by all means, it sounds like they could.
Yeah.
And put in decent performances from what we've heard about some of these drivers.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Seems a bit silly.
It
But
does.
anything else on the rumor mill? We already kind of talked about Carlos Sainz apparently being targeted by
Yep.
Williams.
Being massively targeted by Williams.
I think we talked about that a little bit last podcast as well. I
Maybe.
still think, or we talked about it in person, I don't know. But I think that'd be career suicide. I don't know why he would do it.
It's tough, but then, like, what is a year outside of F1 for
I
your
just don't
career?
understand why he, like, I don't know why Mercedes wouldn't want
I
him.
think Mercedes, like, to me, the thing that almost makes the most sense is Mercedes picking him up for a year
Yeah.
to get Kimi Antonelli to get more super license points, and then at least Carlos Sainz still gets to stay within a top 5 team.
Yeah. Like, he's a good driver.
It makes sense for Sainz. It makes sense for Mercedes. He's not going to fight with George.
Yep.
They're not. They've never really clashed heads.
Also at Williams, like, we know Albon's their number one driver. They love him. So Carlos Sainz is going to Williams to be a number 2 driver there? I don't get it.
But even if he's another number 1 driver, which doesn't exist,
No.
he's going to show them how to develop a car like Ferrari?
Like,
Why?
yeah.
Unless you pay him all the money in the world, but Williams needs that money for development.
Yeah.
So how much can you really pay him?
It doesn't add up.
The rumor that I heard is that they offered him a 4-year contract that
Whoa.
if Williams sucks, he can end after 2.
Whoa. That's crazy. I don't know what they have cooking up that they think they're going to just
I do have
skyrocket,
faith
man, but
in James Vowles and what he's already done with Williams, but, like,
I mean, it just seems like their
signing on
infrastructure
to a
is so
4-year
bad.
signing on to a 4-year contract. 4-year
Plus-
contracts are only for guys that are, like, franchise drivers.
Plus, they still only have one car that's actually an updated chassis. Like, Logan is still driving an old chassis around.
Yeah.
And it's only Albon that has any of their upgrades.
It's
Like,
true.
they just don't have the infrastructure in place right now
That's
to even support their own team. So, like,
I believe in the
what
underdogs.
a weird choice.
But yes, I don't know. I would hope that he could get an audience with a Mercedes. I would hope that he could get a drive with Mercedes. I think he
That
would
makes
do
the most
well.
sense to me. I think him and George would get along fine.
Yep.
I think Mercedes still is always on the cusp of being a top-tier team.
Yeah.
Even if they've been on the back foot lately.
Yeah.
I think they could turn that around at any point, realistically.
Yep.
This weekend was super promising.
It was.
So,
It was, and allegedly, the 2026 cars, which have now been unveiled.
Yep.
Which I don't like the look of at all over the 20. But to
I
be
mean-
fair, I didn't like the 2022 car either because
no, like the concept that
every
the
concept car is
FIA
like
comes out with doesn't look that great.
Yeah, because it's
so,
it's every guideline
Yeah.
maxed.
Yeah.
It's like, so anytime you see a concept F1 car, every single feature is exaggerated.
Yep.
The,
Yeah.
the front spoiler is as tall as it can be, and
Yeah.
the gaps are as big as they can be. So, anyways, it's what you're limited to, but that is going to rely less on floor downforce
Yeah, they're reintroducing some active aerodynamic
more
downforce.
We'll call it top of the car downforce.
Yeah, like the front kind of spoiler wings.
Front spoiler, back spoiler, how the air flows over the side pods,
Yep.
and how the car disperses of the air.
Yep.
That is rumored to lend itself more towards Mercedes' design philosophy because that's what they were so dang good at from 2014 to 2021.
Yeah. I mean, there's still some ground effect element there.
Yes.
And ground effect is like creating suction using the floor of the car to
Yes.
pull it down towards the
Yes.
ground. That's what that means. So rather than using like traditional spoilers all over the car to push the car down and keep it glued to the road, it's creating like this pocket of
Negative air.
Like this vacuum essentially
Under
to suck the car down.
Yep.
So
So it'll be interesting to see how those cars come out.
Yeah, it will be. It'll be interesting to see when those finally, like that year rolls around and we get to see what teams come out with.
Yep.
That'll be fun.
Yep.
The car is not much smaller than the current cars, which I was a bit disappointed
No,
by.
they keep saying, it's smaller.
I
It's
was hoping
it's
it'd be significantly smaller.
Isn't it like 2 centimeters per side?
It's not
skinnier?
a lot. It's
And
like
then
a
it's like-
little bit.
Yeah, like it's in the centimeter, like under 10 centimeters
Yeah.
of dimension both ways.
Yeah.
Is how much smaller it's gotten.
Yeah.
So think about 10 centimeters. That is about that much.
That's probably too much for 10
might
centimeters,
be.
honestly.
It might be.
Because like a ruler is
A
30.
ruler is
and
30.
That's like
so
that.
it's 4. 10 centimeters is 4 inches.
It's small.
It's not much at all.
It's small.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the new regulations.
Yep.
There was one thing from I think it was last podcast
Ooh.
that
Ooh.
I needed to correct because you corrected me on it.
Oh,
and
no.
then I was just like, oh, well, maybe I am wrong about this.
Oh, no.
But I was correct.
I'm wrong.
You are.
And Ferrari's
You
bad.
are.
Oh, no, it doesn't get much worse. Lay it on me.
When we were talking about V-Carb and Red Bull's second team, we were talking about the drivers that had come from the talent pool at Red Bull.
Yeah.
And I said, well, even Vettel made his debut with Sauber. And you were like, oh, but wasn't that like Minardi?
I thought
but
it was
no,
Minardi.
it was BMW Sauber. He made his debut with BMW Sauber.
Okay.
Not even in the Red Bull sister team of Toro Rosso. He won his first race, I believe, with Toro Rosso, but he drove first in F1 with a last-minute call-up, I believe, for BMW Sauber.
Even I can be wrong. Was it
Yes.
for Robert Kubica?
It might have been. I don't know who he replaced, but it might have been Robert Kubica.
Because he had a gnarly crash
He
in
did
Canada,
with that team, yeah.
In Canada with
Canada.
that team. It
Yep.
might have been that year.
It could have been.
Huh.
I don't know for sure. But, yeah. So,
So I'm wrong.
mild correction there.
Sorry.
Mild correction. I was editing and I came across it again and I was like, I gotta double check that.
I gotta dunk on my
I
co-host.
love Vettel
I gotta
way too much.
destroy
I was
my
like,
co-host.
I need to double check my Vettel facts because Vettel's the best.
Just like can't be wrong. Yeah.
No, I just
Well-
want to give the listeners accurate information. Nothing
Mhm.
else. Yeah.
Well, effectively, this was Canada 2024.
Yeah.
And we might do something extra with the content creation.
In
I
the
think
future,
over maybe something over the summer break. Who knows? We gotta have some conversations.
yeah.
Gotta talk to agents. Brand deals,
Yeah.
marketing.
Turns out YouTube gets mad if you stop releasing videos for like 3 weeks.
We gotta do something.
So, yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we gotta fill up summer break somehow. So you'll be hearing from us. Stay tuned to the YouTube page, which is The Grain Guys. Correct?
Yeah, I think so. It's apparently kind of hard to find because there's some
It's hard to find.
There's some French gaming channel that is apparently beating us out right now by
Le Grain Guys.
quite a bit of subscribers.
Grain.
Yeah, so
Grain Guy.
like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, and
I hate that.
subscribe.
That's the worst,
Engage
dude.
with us.
Yeah, engage.
Please comment.
What are your thoughts?
I will respond. What are your thoughts about this hour and a half episode?
What car do you think looks the nicest currently on the grid? Comment your thoughts below.
Comment what your favorite
If you listen this far.
helmet
Which, based
is.
on the statistics I can look at,
You
you
do
did
not.
not listen this far. But if you did.
Tough bounce.
Maybe we'll pull some of our Spotify audience over. Maybe
Yeah.
we're not allowed to talk about that. Uh-oh. But,
Oh no, mentioning another platform.
Yeah, mentioning another platform.
Who
Even
knows?
though it's by far our primary platform.
We're
where
on
we get all of
Spotify.
our
We're on
listens.
Apple Podcasts, maybe. I'm pretty sure they auto upload.
I think we are.
We're on YouTube. We got some YouTube shorts cooked up.
I've made 3.
3.
I could not make subtitles for them.
That's fine.
Well,
That
I know
does-
a lot of people
does do
like
well.
listening with audio off, right? And just swiping through, and you can read what they're saying.
Yeah,
Still.
and it gets
But,
people more engaged. But
I don't pay for DaVinci Resolve,
yeah.
so I don't have the paid version, which lets you auto-generate subtitles for a video like that.
Because I was going to say, you have to put in the subtitles?
Yeah, so I'd have to do it manually,
Oh,
which I was like,
That is not happening.
I'm not doing
That
that.
is not happening.
I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah.
not doing that. So,
Yep.
yeah.
So we'll see. But anyhow, stay tuned to Drain, guys, if you're still listening this far.
Yeah, when's the next race? 2 weeks?
9 days.
9 days.
9 days, which means it is June 21st.
June 21st.
You'll be hearing from us the week of June 21st.
Yes. June 21st. There's not a race every single week. This came up today. There's not.
There's not. Because they have to travel.
They do. They have to travel.
And rest.
Which means no podcast every week.
No
because
podcast
I
every
also can't even work that fast.
No.
I am not that speedy at
It's tough.
editing.
The
I
head-
have no
the
idea
double
what I'm
headers
doing.
are tough.
Yes.
It's tough to keep up.
Yes.
But you know what?
Pace is rapid.
We do this for you guys, for the listeners.
Yes.
We definitely don't do this because we want to do this anyways.
Yeah, we didn't.
We
just,
definitely don't do this because it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
and
I hate doing
it's
this.
used to socialize, hang out. We're definitely not doing this to build our own social brands. We're definitely not just pining, chomping at the bit to become influencers. Those are all things that we're not.
I'm secretly enemies with Noah.
Oh, we hate each other.
Yeah.
We hate each other.
We hated each other for
We
years.
hate each other for years.
Yeah, a long time.
It's the long con. We're both trying to hit the long con on the other.
He really tried. He almost got me
Yeah.
when he made me best man at his wedding. Because then I was like, whoa, maybe this guy doesn't hate me. But he's not getting me with that one.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know. I know he hates
Oh,
me.
yeah. No. And we got cats because David has cats.
Yeah.
So I wanted to woo him into kind of a false sense of
Yeah,
security.
he keeps telling me he's a cat guy now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's just, can't trust this guy.
Anyways, this has been The Drain, guys. This is Gordon. I'm Noah.
I'm David.
And we hope you enjoyed this episode.
We'll see you at Spain.
We'll see you at Spain.
Not in person.
No, we won't be there.
We
don't have the
not
budget
at
for that.
Spain.
We are in Canada.
We'll
in
see
case
you
hadn't
here
noticed.
for Spain.
Yes. Whenever we feel like posting.
Yes.
Good night.